The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast, featuring Jeff Upson and Eric Knopsynder. PA Power Wrestling. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into the PA Power Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Upson, joined by Eric Knopsynder. Eric, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I mean, what's it been like? What have you been up to?
Yeah, it's been, frankly, I don't even know that we've seen each other since the surge, have we?
Yeah,
it's been a while. We've been busy with other things. Unfortunately, we both have real jobs that we have to go to. Can't be wrestling all the time. But thankfully, getting together here at Canon-McMillan for the POWERade, one of the best events of the year.
So you actually have another job? Because it seems like people just expect us to kind of just do wrestling 24/7.
I wish we could.
Yeah,
you guys
too.
want to send donations in? We'll gladly take them.
If I could quit my job and do wrestling, I'd never work another day in my life because this isn't work. But unfortunately, it doesn't pay the bills. Eric.
No. But, great tournament here so far. Just finished up the semifinal round, and final round will be later this evening. So we'll give you our thoughts on what has happened so far and what we think will happen in the finals, and maybe have a couple guests on here as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Eric. And let's just start off right out the gate here at 106 pounds. Your state champion from last year, Gerrit Nijenhuis, is a winner 3-0 over Carter Starocci, a guy we got to see at the Surge who was a runner-up there. State qualifier last year. Gerrit Nijenhuis ranked number 1 in the state in AA. Carter comes in at number 2. This was a really lopsided win, I think, for Steen. He looked really sharp in that match. Carter wasn't able to get to his offense.
I wasn't able to see much of this. Was this just was Steen able to control it from the outset? Just kind of good positioning and not allow Diver to get anywhere.
Yeah, I mean it started off pretty standard. Steen was able to get a takedown and just kind of cruise from there. I mean Carter he fought the whole way, but it just seemed like Gary's on another level. I mean when I saw him at Ironman a couple weeks ago, he just looked like a different type of wrestler than he did last year. It was hard to believe that, Gary was, he's really came to another level, especially returning down to 106 pounds. I was surprised at first to see him down there, but he looks really sharp, and I like the way he wrestles.
All right, and in the other bracket, we got Dylan Chappell from Seneca Valley knocking off Kyle Hosserman from Council Rock North in what was a really good match.
Yeah, did you get to see that one? Because that was one you couldn't have missed. That one was a really good match. I don't know if you remember how it came down, but Chappell got a takedown. Houseman escaped pretty soon thereafter. And then in the third period is when things really started heating up. That's when Houseman was able to get a reversal, but then Chappell just kind of stuck him.
Yeah, this was there were 2 back-to-back good matches from Seneca Valley kids in the lightweights there that really went down to the wire, and this was the first of them, as you said. Chappell in a really tight match there, but able to come up with the pin for the win.
Yeah, he just looked. He actually put Houseman in the same position he put Finn Solomon in at the King of the Mountain semifinals, where he just reached back for the head and he almost defensively pinned him. Then he was able to scoot out and get control, and then just sunk a deep half, and it was lights out. I mean, it was a really physically strong win for him. Yeah,
Chappell looks like he's really comfortable in that situation where the other guy has legs in and he's able to reach back and put him in danger there. And, if you're not used to that, that's a very uncomfortable position to be in for the top guy whenever the shoulder blades start getting close and you've got to bail out. And that's exactly what happened. And as you said, Chappell was able to go straight from there into the fall.
Agree. Comfortable. He was very comfortable in that position. And it almost looked like he was happy he was there, because he was like, all right, I'll get the fall. And he was very close to it, was able to squirt through and get the pin. And man, Gary Steen and Dylan Chappell, what do you think here? This this is one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, this should definitely be a good one. I would lean towards Steen, but I mean, Chappell has really wrestled well. You know, we talked about it before. He was kind of wrestling up a lot of last year just because of the way the lineup worked out. So, you know, size wise, he's where he should be this year at 106 and looks really good.
Yeah, I agree. I think I give the edge to Steen just having watched him develop since last year and at the Ironman and thus far here. I think I lean to Steen, but I would never count out Dylan Chappell.
No, Chappell's look good, and so has his teammate at 113, moving up there, Alejandro Herrera Rondon, state champion last year, and it seemed like he was always kind of gutting out matches last year on the way to that title, winning the tight ones, and able to do exactly that in this semifinal, where he had Jake Rundle of Oak River Park Forest out of Illinois, scoreless match in the third period, looked like it might go to overtime, tied at 0, and Herrera Rondon just finds a way to tilt him for 2 with, I think it was about 16 seconds left when he tilted him, and then he holds on for the 2-0 win.
Yeah, there was actually 7 seconds left.
Was it that little? I thought it was maybe it was when he turned him, maybe when he actually got awarded the 2
the points,
7,
yeah. It was, I mean, I thought for sure, I was like, well, here goes an overtime match. I thought for sure Herrera was going to roundabout, we're going to go into overtime and win it on their feet. And Rundell, I mean, those two have wrestled before, and Rundell, I believe, has beaten him. So this was a big win for AHR, and I think he's in a position now where you say, okay, this is it. You're the second seed. I got to see him at Ironman go to the finals, and that kind of turned a lot of people's attention towards him. But now you get nothing easier than Kurt McHenry. McNasty is, man.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I really love Ali and the way he's wrestling, but I think that's a pretty tall order to take out McHenry in the final.
McHenry was able to defeat Kyle Burkholder from Hempfield, who's recently down at 113. Herrera Rondon actually beat Burkholder last week 1-0 at 120 pounds. But this one is the one I heard the Flow guys talking about this. This is one that people are circling. They want to see how he can push McHenry.
Yeah, I think that, I'd like to see a really good match here. I'm not sure that he's ready yet to take out a guy like McHenry, but I think that he can keep it close and, as you said, push McHenry in the final.
Well, talk about taking people out. You got to like what happened here at 120 pounds. And Cam Enriquez from Stroudsburg, unseeded, beats state champion and second seed Ryan Sullivan 7-5 in the semifinals at 120 pounds. That was a heck of a match. Man, he can scramble. Enriquez is just, he's able to scramble from all positions.
That was another one that was kind of underneath me. Did he escape right at the end?
Yeah, he did.
To tie it, right? Sullivan was up, and Enriquez escaped at the end and was able to score a takedown in overtime to win it, I think.
Right, yeah. So Enriquez was able to escape with like 2 seconds left and then able to collect a takedown in sudden victory. But, Enriquez jumped out to get the opening takedown, but then Sullivan seemed to be really getting into his offense. He got a takedown, then even followed it up with a third takedown or second takedown in the third period. But Enriquez, man, talk about the path that he's going through. I mean, he's beaten some quality guys. He beat Christian Fisher, a 2-time state medalist. He beat state champ Bo Bayless. Now he beat state champ Brian Sullivan. He's kind of a giant killer.
He is. Can he continue it though? He's got Curtis Phipps of Norwin in the finals. That'd be an incredible run if Cameron Enriquez could complete this run and win it.
I mean, that's OW material written all over it, coming from the unseeded position. Now, granted, the reason he's unseeded is because even though he's a 2-time state medalist, he still he hadn't competed well at the POWERade previously, so he wasn't a medalist here. But yeah, I agree. I think this matchup is going to be an interesting one because Curtis Phipps is like a crab, man. He's just like an octopus from all angles. He can hang on to you and grip you up real nice. He beat Ian Oswald in the semifinals 4-0, which he's no slouch. So you got to like the way that Curtis Phipps is wrestling. He's been here before, right? He's been in this position before. He's won a POWERade title. It's why he's the top seed here. Can get number 2.
He's just so hard to score on, as you said, kind of that, just suction-like ability that he's able to kind of fend off shots, and when he's on top, just kind of leech on there. That really tough to score on Phipps. So Yeah, this one's definitely interesting. I think Phipps is probably the favorite there, but the way Enriquez has been on a roll, it's hard to bet against him.
Yeah, I think Enriquez has a hot hand, right? I mean, he's definitely one that you're going to say you got to like his chances, but Curtis Phipps he can slow down a Mack truck, so it should be a good one as well. If you move up to 126 pounds, this one it's an interesting one because you look at the path that J.J. Wilson from Cedar Cliff had. He's grinded out some pretty tough wins here. He beat Jordan Waters in the quarterfinals 4-3. He beat Mikey Zakar from Thomas Jefferson 8-6. That was a pretty close match. And then in the semifinals, he takes out Nicky Cabanelas from DePaul Catholic in New Jersey, beats him 4-0. But on the other side of that, everyone kind of was expecting Colton Camacho, but he gets upset last night. And now, if you look at Angelo Rini from St. Ed's, he just survives barely against Kenny Heyman of Canon-Mac. That was a wild match.
Yeah, that was a heck of a match. Heyman was able to lock up a cradle from the neutral position late in that one and get a takedown to send it to overtime. And then kind of the live by the sword, die by the sword sort of thing. Rini able to lock up a cradle on Heyman in the overtime and get the takedown and the win.
Yeah, that was a crazy bout. I looked over towards the end there and just saw how it ended, and man, that was a crazy bout. I like J.J. Wilson, man. Despite the fact that he had some close bouts here, he's tough as nails. He really grinds people out. He's tough from neutral. He just beats you up from top as well. So I think he gets this one done, but you can't sleep on the St. Ed guy.
No, St. Ed's is leading the tournament as far as the team goes. I think they have 5 in the finals. Look fantastic. But I'm with you. I like J.J. Wilson here. He's got the ability to kind of grind out matches, and I think he gets it done here in the finals as well.
You go up to 132 pounds, and someone who we're very familiar with, and he's very familiar with success, is Sammy Hilligus from North Hills, and the 2-time state champion. Took it to Gabe Willishell in the semifinals 12-3. He's just mean on top, man. He's, for a kid as nice as he is, he's mean on the mat, man. He's not a guy I want to meet, especially go underneath him, So I would not go underneath Sammy Hilligus.
Well, and I think there was a difference in body types here. I mean, Hilligas, you've kind of nicknamed him the Bull, Sammy the Bull, and he just bowled his way through Gabe Willishell. Gabe, kind of a long, lanky kid, and just didn't work well with going under Hilligas there.
Yeah, but I mean, sitting on the other side is a guy who has nothing to lose and has looked the best I've ever seen him in his career. Even his coach Chris Heater said, I've never seen that type of tenacity and fire behind Darren Miller. Darren Miller last night, he pinned Patrick Noonan from Stroudsburg, a guy who's been nationally ranked before. Darren Miller's a senior who's going to Bucknell. He's knocked off Colton Camacho earlier this year at the Eastern Area Tournament. Now he finds himself in the POWERade Finals. That match with Eddie Bolivar from Oak Park River Forest was a barn burner, and he got the takedown right towards the end of the third period to win that. 3rd seed over the 2 seed. So I don't know. I mean, you can't go against Hilligas, right? You can't, right?
As well as Miller's wrestling, I think you got to go with Hilligas here. He's looked fantastic. I got to stick with Hilligas in this one.
But I think Darren is capable of keeping it a little bit closer. I
think he's made definite progress this year, as you said. Wrestling is as well as he ever has. So not to take anything away from him, I just think Sammy Hilligas is at a different level than most guys here.
Speaking of a guy who's, I think, on a different level, and that's Ed Scott from Du Bois. The Ed Scott he's been kind of an anomaly. He's been up and down. Last year, he did not have the state tournament that he wanted after finishing 3rd in the state as a freshman. Now he's a junior. He's bigger, and he's just punishing guys from all positions. He gets a pin in a minute 7, gets a major 12-2. Then he beats Ty Linsenbigler from Hempfield 6-1, and then he pins Rocco Bartolo from Reynolds, who was a state 3rd place medalist last year. He pins him. and he really just kind of took it right to him.
He did. He dominated from the start in this one. And Ed Scott, as you said, another guy who's really on the rise right now and maybe wrestling as good as he ever has. I saw a little bit of that Bartolo match. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to see there because Scott was just so good. And it looks fantastic. He will have Bryce Hepner, another St. Edward's guy in the final, who I didn't get to see much of his semifinal match, but he also won by fall.
Yeah, he did. He pinned Darby Deldrick from Howell, New Jersey. He's actually recorded 2 falls and 2 decisions on his way to the finals here. I don't know. I like Scott. I like Scott in this match. I just think the way he's wrestling, he's really just turned it up a notch and going to another level here. And I think if he stays focused, stays poised, I think he wins this match. But again, St. Ed's guys, they don't just lay down.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which way to go on this one. As I said, I didn't get to see the St. Ed's guy, so I'm not quite sure. The way they're wrestling right now, it's kind of hard to bet against them, but you could say the same for Ed Scott. I mean, the way he's going, I mean, how do you say that he's going to lose in the finals? Tough one to call. Just to be different than you, I'll go ahead and go with St. Ed's on this one.
You always like to just be different from me. You just can't. You hate to say I'm right. That's what you hate to agree with me.
Yeah, but usually when I disagree with you is when I'm right.
Is that true?
Do you remember the Super 32 predictions?
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right. I immediately take back that statement. You are correct in that. Well, let's move up to 145 pounds, and here's a weight where we do not have a Pennsylvania wrestler in the finals, but it still should be an entertaining one. You got Chris Donathan from Mason, Ohio, who comes in ranked in the nation against Bryce Anadonia, and man, he was tossing John Martin Best, who's a pretty good guy in his own right, out of West Virginia, just tossing him around in that semifinal match. And I mean, there were all kinds of oohs and ahs, probably more so than any other semifinal match that I heard, which is amazing considering these are 2 out-of-state guys that don't have big crowds here. But he was just really impressive in that victory. No, he really was, and he's He's not afraid to let it fly. That's for sure. He's just very. He just kind of goes out there and he looks for those throws. I mean, if you can stop the throw, if you know what's coming, I think it's capable of being stopped. But he's just nasty on the mat. I mean, the way he was going after guys. He
was, and this one got a little bit chippy.
It did. It actually got very chippy. I liked it.
So you're right. This isn't a PA final, but I'm excited for this one. I think it'll be fun.
He's number 6 in the nation. He was number 6 in the nation coming into this. Donathan is number 7. So talk about some of the highly ranked guys here. You got 2 top 10 guys in the nation going at it at 145 pounds. This one should be a pretty dandy one, even though there's no Pennsylvania wrestlers in it. Let's go up to 152 pounds, and in this weight class, we see none other. Again, you look at Ryan Vulock and the way he's been wrestling, kind of like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on going and grinding matches away, not blowing people away, but still really just looks poised, and I like the way he's been wrestling. He's been grinding out wins. And of course, don't forget, despite being the 3rd seed, I mean, he's highly ranked. He's number 1 in the state, ranked in the nation as well.
Yeah, and you're right, and did have to grind a couple out there, as you said, in the quarterfinals. Just a 1-0 victory over Cam Connor of Kiski, and then in the semis, what was the final there? I know it was close. I think it was 2-2 or something. You get a takedown to win at 4-2. Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was 4-2 in overtime.
Okay, I remember it being a close match, and that he had to grind it out there. But getting the win over Cooper Krotman of Penfield, New York, and now, as you said, we'll face Sam Dover of St. Ed's in the finals. What do you think?
Sam Dover's tough, man. Sam Dover is really, really good at wrestling. He's number 3 in the nation from St. Ed's. We've actually seen him quite a few times, Eric. We saw him at Fargo. I've seen him in Ironman. I mean, the kid can flat out wrestle. And Ryan Vull, I mean, he's a very methodical and very, he just plans his things, his moves, and his the way he wrestles very carefully, and he's kind of, I think if he opens up, if he actually gets to his offense and really goes after it, I think he could win it. But Dover's got to be the favorite.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dover is probably the guy. Would like to see Vulak go out there and open up, as you said, and maybe get a win. But I think you probably got to lean toward Dover at this point.
Yeah, it'll be a tall task. You move up to 160 pounds, and this one features our top seed here, Tyler Stoltzfus from St. Joe's Catholic Academy up in Boalsburg, and he had a tough one in the semis against Trey Kai from Mifflin County, beat him 1-0, escaped in the second, and then rode him out in the third here. Look at his path to the finals. I mean, he's beating some pretty quality guys. Dylan Shee from Council Rock North, who's a state qualifier, and he got 2 falls prior to that. How do you like this one playing out against Connor O'Neill?
I didn't get to see O'Neill. I know he beat Jack Bloomer in the semis. Did you see any of that one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was the one that was underneath you. So
those are hard to see when you're up top.
Yeah, those are pretty difficult for you to see from up in the stands. But no, he looked good against a very, very tough guy. I'm a big fan of Jack Bloomer. He looked really good there against a guy who I think is one of the better juniors in the state, and Jack Bloomer. He kind of took it to him on his feet a little bit. I think he poses a really messy matchup for Stoltzfus. I think he can cause him problems. And Connor O'Neill comes in ranked number 19th in the nation. Stoltzfus was in the rankings at one time, but he slipped out of the top 20. So I think it's going to be very, very tight.
Yes, Stoltzfus, as you said, had a difficult one there in the semis. Made that escape stand up. He did look. I mean, he won at 1-0, but he was in control.
I agree.
That whole third period. Nearly got a turn there at one point. I think he got a 1 count and then another 1 count. Didn't quite get the back points, but it didn't ever really look like he was in danger of giving up the lead there. But I would probably have to go with O'Neill here, just in terms of how difficult that was for Stoltzfus, that 1-0 victory, and maybe O'Neill right now kind of wrestling a little better.
Well, let's move up to. Remember last year when you didn't pick Jared McGill to win?
I don't remember that at all.
I do. I certainly do. I think you remember it as well. You just just because you say you don't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen, because it 100% happened. Do you remember that?
I do kind of. I remember saying that Josiah Jones wouldn't win because he always goes if he went to overtime, and he kind of threw that in our face.
He did throw that in your face.
Yeah, Jared McGill back in the finals. He's looked fantastic. I think really all season. 8-2 victory over Nick Delp that probably wasn't really as close as the score indicates. I felt like McGill was in control the whole time here. If anything, maybe got a little sloppy at times going for a fall, trying to get some big moves, but never really felt like that he was in any danger there.
Yeah, I agree. And if you look at the matchup with Christian Clutter from McGuffey, McGill, highly ranked. He's been ranked as in the nation. This is his first time down at 170 this season. He won the King of the Mountain. He beat Julian Goring in the finals. I was there to see that. It was a great match. He really took it to him. Now down at 170, he's the clear-cut favorite. He's a returning POWERade champion. He won it last year, beating Kyle Hammett, and now this year he has Christian Clutter from McGuffey, who's really, come on strong here. I know he's the second seed, but he had a tough match with Lenny Pinto from Stroudsburg in the quarterfinals, and then had to win in tiebreaker to get to the finals.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting match there. I saw a good bit of that one. He went up, it was tied at 2, and was able to go up 5-2. And then the kid from, I know it was an out-of-state kid, Mason, Ohio, cut him in the second half of the overtime, and so it ended up being a 6-2 decision in overtime. But definitely a good win for Clutter there. The way McGill is wrestling right now, though, to me looks like he's on a different level. The biggest thing I could see is if he does try to go too fast, too big, and gets himself into trouble, which he did almost do at one point. Delp almost had him on his back for a half a second or so. And that's where I could see McGill possibly getting himself into trouble. But if he just keeps his pace and keeps attacking and doesn't get too out of control, I think he wins this one.
I agree. As long as he stays under control, and his match at the finals of King of Mountain, he was very much under control. I think as long as he stays there and does that and just gets to his offense and wrestles kind of like he did last year at the King of Mountain or the POWERade Finals, I think he'll be okay. Now, I wouldn't sleep on Clutter, though. He's a good mat wrestler. He's very tough to on top. And don't forget, he placed 4th in the state last year, and McGill was 3rd in the state last year.
Yeah. No disrespect to Clutter. He's a great wrestler, and I do think this will be a pretty good match. I like McGill and where he's at right now and the way he's attacking. Like I said, as long as he keeps it under control. He had his first 3 matches, he didn't get out of the first period.
Right.
All were first period falls. And I think he was looking for that maybe a little too much against Delp to try to keep that streak going, and got himself not in trouble, but in some situations that could have been trouble.
Well, it has to be the favorite matchup, the highlight of the finals. It has to be 182 pounds with Carter Starocci and Gerrit Nijenhuis. Does it get any better than this?
No, and I haven't heard yet. I don't know if they're holding this for the end, but certainly if they're not starting at 106, I would think this is going to be your finale. You've got Carter Starocci, returning state champ, Gerrit Nijenhuis, guy you beat in the semis last year in a really great match to get to the state finals, and also Nijenhuis, a Canon-McMillan product, who's going to have probably a couple people in the stands cheering for him.
You think a couple?
Yeah, I'd say there'd be a few.
I think there's a couple, right? If you remember this match from last year, the state semifinals at 160 pounds, Carter beat him 3-1 in sudden victory, and it was a crazy match. There was some controversy. There was some people that were saying
there was a cradle that might have been a takedown or might not have been.
Yeah,
it was close.
It was really wild, and then Carter had another wild one in the finals against Zach Hartman as well that he won 6-4 in sudden victory. So these two are very familiar with each other. Carter wrestled him in the team state tournament as well. He beat him 3-1 at the team state tournament, and I don't know. This one is a tale of two different wrestlers here. Carter, committed to Penn State. He's one of the top guys in the nation. But Gerrit Nijenhuis, man, he's right there. He's right there with him.
And can he get a little Canon-Mac magic here?
There's always some Canon-Mac magic here. There are always somebody. I can remember Dalton Macri had some Canon-Mac magic here. Cody Weirchach has some Canon-Mac magic here. There's been some pretty big names out of Canon-Mac that have done well here.
Yeah, it's almost like the Carver Hawkeye effect. You come here and they just have that ability to knock off a guy here at home. So yeah, I'd lean towards Carter just because of past history and that he's won it in the past, but I certainly wouldn't put it above Nijenhuis to come out here with a title.
Yeah, and I think one thing you have to look at is healthy. Who's healthy, who's not, who's banged up, who's not, and I think this is going to be a very high level match that you're going to see two guys that are clearly Division I guys here competing, and I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be one of those boring matches where you say. People shut down in those big matches. I don't think you're going to see that this time around. I think you're going to see two guys going at it in a very aggressive way.
Yeah, I could see another low-scoring one like that, like a 3-1 match.
Right,
I think you're going to see guys firing off shots, good counters, good counter wrestling, and an exciting match, even though it might be low-scoring.
All right, who do you like?
Yeah, this one's tough. Like I said,
man.
I'm going to go Carter, like I said, just because he's done it before. But, man, I'm not that confident that Nijenhuis doesn't beat him.
I mean, you flip a coin, I think, is your safest bet. They come in ranked number 1 and 2 in the state, number 4 and number 5 in the nation. So even the experts, so to speak, believe that these two are very neck and neck. I really don't. First of all, let's talk about the semifinal matches that they each had, because we kind of skipped over the fact that they both wrestled some really high quality wrestlers in the semifinals. Carter Starocci beat Luke Stout from Mount Lebanon 7-3, a guy who has done pretty well at Fargo. In fact, he and Carter both have cadet Fargo national championships to their names. And Carter really, it was a really good match. He really took it to him on his feet. He looked poised. He looked tough.
Yeah, this was another one of those that was kind of tucked underneath me that I didn't really get to see any of. So I'll have to take your word on that. I saw the score, and that was about it. I did get to see Nijenhuis and Scott Joel, who that one was kind of a wild one, a little funky. Scott Joel doing a lot of funks, a lot of rolls where they kind of got into some scrambles. And Nijenhuis still looked pretty solid there, though, and coming out with the victory.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at Gerrit got the opening takedown. Scott Joel escaped, but then he got a takedown of his own. But then Gerrit sort of took control of the mat. He reversed him in the second, and actually reversed him again in the third. So he definitely was in control of the match, but Scott Joel is just a funky wrestler. The way his hips are kind of weird. He's kind of funky in that sense. So I figured that would be a little bit of a mismatch in that sense. But this one, I mean, this is going to be worth the price of admission. I don't know what it costs to get in, but it's worth it, whatever that is.
Yeah. You'll definitely, if you're in the vicinity, you'll want to be here for that one. That should be a great one. And we actually have Gerrit Nijenhuis here to talk with us.
Joining us now is Canon-McMillan's own Gerrit Nijenhuis. Gerrit, how you feeling?
I feel great. Ready to roll.
Ready to rock and roll. Does it feel good to be back at the POWERade? I mean, I know this is a tournament that you really enjoy and you like competing in.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome being in your home gym, competing against the best guys with, big crowd cheering for you.
We got to see you at the quad meet last week, and you had some good bouts there as well. Talk about the season thus far. This is our first real time seeing you pushed in, I guess, a few matches.
Mm-hmm. I mean, team-wise, I felt like the quad meet could have gone better. There are some guys who, stepped up against Kiski and stuff, but I feel like we just keep pushing. We just got to outwork the other teams. We'll be there just like we were last year.
Now, how do you feel up at 182? We saw you down to Super 32, and Eric and I both said to ourselves, "Wow, what did you do in the off season? Because you got big. How do you feel up at that weight?"
I feel great. I'm not sucking down too much weight. I just feel like that's where I'm wrestling best right now.
Gerrit, today, big semifinal victory there. Got a little funky. What do you think of a match like that where, you get in some strange positions, kind of work your way through things?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta have a great feel for it. I've been wrestling for a while. You just gotta know, where to move your hips and stuff. And, he's a good wrestler, but I just felt like I was a better scrambler.
And in the finals, for me, probably the highlight match of the night. You'll get another shot at Carter Starocci. How excited are you for that?
I'm excited. It's that state semifinal match. It gave me a lot to work for all off season. I'm just glad to get another piece of him.
Talk about just you and what you've been up to. I mean, after Super 32, I'm sure the calls kept on coming, and I'm sure a lot of college coaches are interested in having you on their team. What's that been like for you?
I went in with the process with a really, really open mind, and just got to meet a bunch of really, really great people, and a lot of good schools.
Going back one second, real quick to Carter and the matchup tonight. Have you taken anything from that last meeting and that you can use tonight?
I've probably watched that match at least 500 times or something like that, and. I just, in my head, it's the little things that I feel like make the difference there.
Have you replayed it, in your head then today? Just, what you can do differently going into that one tonight?
I do it pretty much every day.
Wow. So that one stuck with you,
huh?
Yeah. What can you do differently tonight to make the result different?
I just feel like I need to stay aggressive in all my shots and, just make sure I'm not backing up on my heels at all and just, keep pushing the pace.
And Gerrit, how's the health? I know you had a little banged up. How do you feel out there now, moving your lateral movements? How's that feel for you?
Overall I feel great. It's just more of a precautionary measure, but I feel awesome.
All right, Gerrit. Well, we look forward to seeing you. It should be the highlight match of the evening, I think, for all of us. So we appreciate you laying it out on the line against Carter Starocci tonight. Should be a fun one. Wish the best of luck to you for here and on the future.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to Gerrit Nijenhuis for stopping by here and chatting with us a little bit about this highly anticipated finals match with Carter Starocci. I think did you hear what he said? 500 times he's watched that?
I think that's been on his mind a little bit. He said he's watched it that many times. He replays it in his head every day.
I'm not really good at math, but 500 times. He would have to watch that at least twice a day.
Yeah, because we're not even 365 days away from
the time, right? Yeah, so that's the one thing. If there's one thing, we talk about Mark Hall and Zahid Valencia. The last guy to lose sort of has the advantage because they're just so mentally motivated, right? And they want to get that revenge so bad that they just kind of go crazy.
Yeah, as long as that's a positive, and that's the mindset aspect of wrestling, of course, is, you want to use that to motivate you, but not wear you out. You don't want to be thinking about it so much during this break between the semifinals and the finals that, you're mentally and physically almost worn out by the time you get there because you've been waiting this entire time to get back to that point. So, yeah, if he uses it as a positive, that's a great thing for Gerrit Nijenhuis and a great motivator going into this final.
Well, I look forward to it, Eric. I know you are as well. But let's move on to 195 pounds, and your top seed, Max Shaw from Thomas Jefferson, comes away with an 8-3 victory over a very tough freshman, Colby Franklin, who has impressed us every step of the way here. Hats off to Max Shaw. He got 3 takedowns total in the match. He looked really poised. Max Shaw's a guy who, he took a year off of wrestling. He comes back. Last year, he finishes 3rd in the state in a really solid performance in the postseason here. Now he kind of comes out and solidifies himself as one of the top guys in the state. I like the way he's wrestling, but on the opposite side, you have a guy who's also going to Penn State, Donovan Ball from Cedar Cliff, who's also a returning state medalist.
Yeah, going back to Shaw and Franklin, that was actually the second time they've met this year. They wrestled in the finals in the Panther Holiday Classic a couple weeks ago. Shaw won that one 10-3. Not a whole lot different this time, 8-3, and he was in control. I think he had a couple first-period takedowns, was kind of in control from the outset. So, yeah, Max Shaw looking really good, and Donovan Ball, a much tighter match for him, but he's able to knock off the guy who kind of pulled an upset earlier in Gable Craigs of Montoursville, knocked off Dorian Crosby last night. And so a big win for Ball there to get by him 8-7 and get into the finals.
It was I know you didn't see this one because it was underneath you, but this one was a heck of a match because Gable Krebs actually came out to a 5-0 lead. He gets a takedown in the opening period. He escaped and got another takedown. He's up 5-0. You're thinking, "Ooh, this is not good," right? Because he really was taking it to him. And then all of a sudden, Donovan Ball starts chipping away. He gets an escape. Then he gets a takedown, gets a near fall. And then in the third period, you're saying, okay, this is it. He escapes, gets another takedown, and he came back and just won it, by the skin of his teeth. But he really showed some guts coming back and down 5-0. That's to a guy like Gable Krebs who's pretty solid. He's a ranked wrestler. He was a guy who's highly, despite the fact I wasn't surprised to see Gable Krebs here, which I got to point out, Gable Krebs and his brother Cale. Okay.
Not good, bad wrestling names there, huh? Gable and Cale.
Yeah, his dad Roger's the head coach of Lycoming. I don't know if you know that. Roger
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
His father obviously named his sons after Dan Gable and Cale Sanderson. They're pretty decent wrestlers.
Yeah, not bad lineage there to kind of a lot to live up to for the kids. So like, hey, you're Gable and you're Cale.
Yeah, right.
Go at it.
Yeah, good luck. But I will say that the way Donovan Ball wrestled here, he looked really sharp. He's going to have to bring it all against Max Shaw, I think, in order for him to really take him down. I think he's going to have to throw everything at him, just like he did in the semifinals, coming back from that deficit. But who do you like here?
Well, I think you kind of touched on it. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to fall behind Shaw like he did in the semis and come back and win it. He's got to be on point from the very start against Shaw. that's tough to do, though. That's easier said than done, because Shaw is wrestling really well, and I like Shaw here.
Yeah, I like Shaw, but I mean, again, if he gets out early, I think he's definitely going to come away with the victory. But Donovan Ball he's not one I'm going to count out of this either. So let's move up to 220 pounds, and here we have one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's not even from Pennsylvania, and I still really, really like him. That's Braxton Amos from Parkersburg South.
He's arguably the best guy at any weight here.
Yeah, I agree. Him and Kurt McHenry probably have the highest credentials if you look at him, but Braxton Amos, man, he's fun to watch. I like the way he wrestles, and he's really good.
Yeah, he is. And that's it's going to be a tough matchup for Dom DeLuca, who has also looked fantastic here. I mean, I don't think Dom is at that level of Braxton, who, is probably, I haven't looked, but I'm guessing he's ranked number 1 in the nation. And Dom DeLuca is very good himself, but he's really dominated. He's got a fall, a tech fall, a fall, and then what was the final? Was it like 11-0? I think over Seamus O'Malley from St. Edwards in the final.
It was 11.
DeLuca just blew through him, made him look completely different levels there.
Yeah, it was 11-0 here, and yeah, I agree with you, Eric. I mean, Braxton Amos is on a different level. He is ranked number 1 in the nation by flow. But Dom DeLuca, I mean, that was the 3rd seed that he destroyed 11-0. And as you said, he kind of made him look silly out there. Now let's rewind a year, and these two did meet last year at the POWERade, and Braxton Amos pinned him in 4 minutes and 44 seconds in the semifinals.
Is there anybody Braxton Amos doesn't pin? Seriously, I think, did he pin his way to the title last year?
No, in the finals he beat Ben Golden 4-0. But up until that point, yes, he did pin everybody into that.
And I mean, we've seen him at Fargo just destroying people. I mean, Braxton Amos has to be one of the most fun guys in the country to watch.
Well, he hasn't gone out of the first period. So, you know what I'm saying? In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches, he hasn't made it out of the first period. So I would say he's pretty well rested, too. He's pretty fresh. If you only have to wrestle in the first period, I would have been really good at wrestling. You know what I'm saying? If wrestling was only 2 minutes, and we didn't have to go down on the mat, I would have liked to wrestle more. But Braxton Amos is obviously one of the best guys here for a reason. I'm picking him, but I hope Dom keeps it a little bit closer than obviously last year. I think he will.
Okay, hot take here. Amos wins, but it does go to the second period.
Okay, well that's silly. That's of course.
No disrespect to Dom DeLuca. It's just Braxton Amos is just that good.
He really is.
I do really like the way DeLuca's wrestling though. Looked fantastic and has looked good all year, I believe.
All right, let's wrap it up here with heavyweight, and the big boys are coming at you. The top seed versus the 2nd seed. We got Quan DeBow from Cathedral Prep up in Erie, and my gosh, he's bigger and bigger every time I see him. I mean, he just looks like he probably ate the 106 pounder. He's big. He was a state runner-up last year, if you remember that, and he was also a runner-up here last year at POWERade, the match that you picked him in, but he didn't win. Josiah Jones won.
That is true. Josiah Jones did win. Didn't let it go to ride out this time, I think, was the way it went down. But yeah, Quan DeBow is looking really good. Love the way he's wrestling. Beat Ashford Hollis of Oak Park River Forest.
Say that 10 times.
Easy
Eric.
For me to say, yeah.
Clearly.
Of Illinois, great program out there.
Yeah.
So big win there for DeBow. And he has Loudon Haga from Parkersburg South in West Virginia.
So a guy who gets to get beat up by Braxton Amos every day in wrestling practice then. So he's probably, in reality, that's something he probably does a lot of.
That's a very good point.
So it obviously is paying out for him well. He is the 2nd seed here. And he beat a really tough Nathan Hoagland from Mount Lebanon 5-1 in the semifinals, a guy I really like, and I think he's been projecting trending upwards, so to speak, in this last year. But this one, DeBow, he comes in ranked number 11 in the nation, so he's got the credibility in that sense. I'd like him. I'm going to go with DeBow just because of the fact that he's been here before. He's been in these big matches. He's not he's not going to shy away from this type of match. But anything's possible at heavyweight. I mean.
Yeah,
there's so many variables. There's so many
without denigrating heavyweights in the weight class. You never know it there. It's usually the tightest of the matchups because it can go on a 1 point or 2 points here could be the match. Did you get to see the West Virginia kid? I didn't get to see him. I'm just wondering what his body type is like, how he compares to DeBow, who you said is a really big kid.
He's not nearly. I don't think he's nearly as tall as DeBow. I did see the match, but I didn't see them standing toe to toe to each other. But
I just wondered if there's going to be a size advantage for DeBow in this.
He's a little bit rounder, but I don't know. I think at that level, it may play a little bit of a factor, but I don't know. DeBow's looked good. He has looked good thus far.
On your recommendation, I'll go with DeBow.
Listen, you picked him last year. You didn't get him, so you might as well.
So he's got to win it this year, right?
Well, one would think, but I don't know, Eric.
I got to go with the PA guy over the West Virginia.
Of course you do, except for Braxton Amos. Yeah, right. That's a different story. That's a different story. I'm excited, Eric. It's one of my favorite tournaments. Things have been going well here. It's a well-run tournament. Everything's been going smoothly as it appears. It's just one of the best of the year for sure.
Yeah, and as we said, some phenomenal matchups highlighted, I think, by that the Starocci Nijenhuis match that I think everyone wants to see again after that state semifinal last year. That should be a good one. As we talked about, even some of them that don't even have PA guys in them, just if you love wrestling, should be some great finals.
So the consolation finals start at 4:30. The championship finals, where it all goes down, is at 7 p.m. tonight from Canon-McMillan High School. If you can't watch it or you can't get here, which if you're in a 50-mile radius, you should be. But if you can't, you can go on Flow Wrestling and watch it live as well. Definitely going to be some barn burners in it. Look at the names that have been competing here before. A lot of them have gone on to do very, very extraordinary things at the next level. So, we're seeing sort of the future of that here today.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about POWERade is we all know about the talent in Western Pennsylvania around here and Pennsylvania as a whole that POWERade brings here. But then you get to see these out-of-state kids a lot of times too that you don't get to see very often this close to home for some people. So you get to see a Braxton Amos who, we're almost all assured is going to be a stud at the NCAA level at some point, wherever he ends up. So, it's definitely a great opportunity to see some guys that you don't get to see all the time.
Yeah, a guy like Kyle Snyder. A lot of folks in Pennsylvania, this was one of the first times they got to see Kyle Snyder when he competed here for Good Counsel and just beat up Thomas Haynes. So you're right. I like the fact that we get to see these national names that you don't necessarily get to see all the time. So unless you're a crazy person like us and travel around the country to watch wrestling, despite the fact that we have other jobs, but apparently we should do more, right?
Yes.
I wish I could. I'm maybe being a little bit critical on fans, but
no, we love what we do, and that's why we do it, and we try to do as much as we possibly can.
Give us some slack.
Yeah, and we'll continue to do everything we can for the sport. We love it, and we enjoy doing this, and yeah, if we could, we'd love to do it all the time, but we do it as much as we can.
All right, Eric. Well, we will see you at the finals. Thanks again to Gerrit Nijenhuis for stopping by and chatting with us a little bit. You can follow all the action along with PA Power Wrestling. We'll have it updates on Twitter at PA Power Wrestle. You can check out other things that are going on across the state. I know we got some folks down at the Trojan Wars as well. Southmoreland, I know, Eric, you wrote a nice little recap of that as well. PAPowerWrestling.com for all your wrestling needs. And until next time, Eric, we'll see you.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.